Welcome to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. This show is about Plymouth County real estate. Our headline for the month was overall pretty good numbers for the summer market. This show is being taped in August, but I'll be reporting on the July numbers at the Registry of Deeds, the recording of documents. So let's go right to the numbers. First, you're going to see a chart of sale of properties, deeds. We had a pretty good month in July for deeds. There were 1,055 deeds recorded in July, less than the 1,107 in June, less than last year's 1,130 deeds in July, and down 8% for the first 7 months of 2019, but that's been pretty consistent since the beginning of the year. We did see a number of sales throughout Plymouth County. You're going to see a listing of deeds for every one of our 27 communities in Plymouth County. From the larger communities, the largest number of sales occurred in Plymouth, Brockton being second, but each and every community recording a number of sales of property. The next image you're going to see is of mortgages. We had a real burst in mortgages this month based upon a large number of refinances. My guest in the second segment, Steve Amico, is going to talk about that, but there were 2,212 mortgages recorded in July, more than the 2,062 in June, up 23% from the 1,798 in last July. And for the first 7 months of the year, it's up 3%. Next, you're going to see a listing of foreclosure deeds. We've followed the foreclosures since the crisis of 2008. They're very, very low right now. Only 31 foreclosure deeds across all of Plymouth County in July, more than the 29 in June, 16% less than last July. For the first 7 months of the year, 49% below last year. The next chart you're going to see is of notices of foreclosures. Foreclosure notice is something that is usually the first part of the process, that somebody's usually behind in their mortgage, and there are 46 foreclosure notices in July, less than the 66 in June, 25% down over the first 7 months. And lenders are getting caught up with those that are behind. If you're facing some difficulty, reach out to a federal counselor. Next, you're going to see a listing of foreclosures and notices by the 27 communities in Plymouth County, from Abington to Whitman, and clearly Brockton and Plymouth have been the traditionally higher number of locations, but most communities have had one thing or the other over the years. And we're e-recording in land court, a training room, which is a free opportunity to efficiently navigate a search system. Next one is going to be Thursday, September 5th. Sign in if you're interested. And please be aware that as of December 31st, recording fees are going up based upon increases passed recently by the legislature and signed into law by the governor. I have a great guest coming, Steve Amico, Vice President of Residential Loans for Coastal Heritage Bank. Welcome back to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. In this segment of the show, we always do something educational in nature. We've had surveyors, commercial real estate brokers, appraisers, a lot of realtors, anyone involved in the real estate community. And I have a great guest today who's a lender. It's Steve Amico, who's Vice President of Residential Loans for Coastal Heritage Mortgage
Bank.
welcome.
Thanks, John. Nice to see you.
And Steve has been a guest before, so I know he's very loquacious and will be able to explain exactly what's going on in the refinance market. But first, I'd just like you to introduce yourself to our viewers and how you got into this real estate business.
Well, it's been a while. I've been in the mortgage industry for about 28 years now, and I started off doing collections actually, and then moved up into the lending side of it, and been at Coastal Heritage Bank now for 23 years. And we actually created Coastal Heritage Bank just about 4.5 years ago when Scituate Federal Savings Bank, who I worked for, and S Bank merged together, and we created Coastal Heritage Bank. We recently just merged with Equitable Bank, and now we have 15 offices of Coastal Heritage Bank, and we've actually reached out onto the North Shore as well as with Lynn and Nahant.
That's great. So how many locations do you have in Plymouth County?
We have, in Plymouth County, we have 13.
Wow.
Go from Kingston, well actually no, let me rephrase that, because we do have a couple in Norfolk County as well.
Sure,
so
yeah.
there are 3 in Norfolk County, 2 up in the North Shore, and 10 down in the Plymouth County area.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it's a great bank.
And you work out of the Hanover office?
I'm in the Hanover office, right by Target and the Hanover Mall.
Good. And so let's talk a little bit about what we've seen and reported in the first segment about the large number of refinancing mortgages that are being recorded at the registry.
Sure.
And what's going on from your perspective.
Sure. Well, beginning of the year, I had talked to my underwriting department this morning, and I wanted to make sure I had the numbers 100% correct. So the beginning of the year, we actually had a split of about 75% were purchase money and 25% was refinance money. Since the rates have dropped, it has actually done a flip that now we're only at 39% purchase money, and it's up to 61% refinancing. And I think most of that is caused, obviously, by the interest rate drop. I mean, it's the lowest interest rates we've seen in over 3 years.
Yeah. So purchase mortgages, you're talking, just so the public knows this, when somebody buys a house,
Correct.
most people have to take out a mortgage.
Correct. Yeah, so when someone purchases a house, we call that, in the mortgage side, we call that purchase money,
Right,
which is
right.
used to purchase the house, not to refinance it.
Right.
We're seeing an awful lot of people who bought a year ago
Yeah.
when the rates were at 4.25%, which still were good rates.
Right.
4.25%, 4.375%, even 4 1/8, now refinancing to the 3.5% interest rate on a 30-year fixed.
So walk me through someone who would contact you and say, I have an existing mortgage and I would like to look at the possibility of lowering my interest rate by a refinance. How does that get approached on your side?
Well, what we do is we talk to the customer, first of all, to see if it makes sense for them to do it, because a lot of times people will call us up and they've got a 3.9 interest rate, and to reduce it down to a 3.5 may not be beneficial for them at the time, because they're either going to be increasing their term, which will kind of negate their savings on refinancing, because now they're going from having 27 years left back to 30 years, so it kind of negates them saving that money. But what we would do is we would talk to them, find out exactly what they're looking for. We'd begin an application process, tell them the items that they would need to gather to put together so that we can process the loan more rapidly and try to get it through as quickly as we possibly can. Right now, appraisers are taking a little bit longer than normal because everybody is busy right now. The attorneys are taking a little bit longer. The processing is taking a little bit longer because you've got such a clog in the wheel that it's just not rolling as quickly as possible. I don't think anyone expected the rates to drop this quickly.
Right. And mortgages are paid on a sliding scale, as I remember. You originally are paying mostly interest.
Right.
And it proportionally goes more to principal than interest as you go down the chain.
I'm kind of dating myself now, but years ago you used to have the rule of 78s, in that you would always pay your interest in advance, and then if you paid it off early, you'd get a rebate. It's not that way anymore. It's called simple interest now.
Okay.
And the way simple interest works is you actually pay your monthly payment, your interest, a month in arrears. So on September 1st, you're actually being billed for the interest in August. So, banks can't earn money that they have, or can't take in money they haven't earned yet. And it gets to a point at one point in time, probably if it's on a 30-year mortgage, around the 16, 17-year mark. That's when you kind of even out, where you're paying more, just as much principal as you are towards interest.
Right.
But during the beginning parts of it, you are paying quite a bit more interest.
And that's usually determined by the time of month that you do your closing?
Well, every mortgage payment is due on the first of the month now.
Right.
Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae require all banks to have first of the month mortgages. The only time you ever pay interest up front is at a closing. So if you close on the 15th of August, you would pay from the 15th of August to the 1st of September at the closing, and then your first bill wouldn't be due until October 1st.
So that's why we're bombed at the registry at the end of the month.
Right, because everyone's trying to get their mortgages closed so they don't have to pay the prepaid interest. But the funny thing is on a refinance, you're paying interest anyway, so you're either paying it at the higher rate or you can pay it at the lower rate.
Okay.
Most likely want to choose to pay it at the lower rate, so close earlier than later.
Interesting.
But that's why you see most purchases being done at the end of the month, because people have rent. And when they have their rental payments, their rental payments are usually due on the first.
So can you walk our viewers through a little bit of the refinancing experience relative to costs to refinance?
Yeah, depending upon if you're refinancing with your lender that you have right now, a lot of times you'll have some discounts. The attorney fee will be discounted because you send it back to the same attorney. Some of the other costs might be a little bit deferred, such as you don't need a plot plan because you've already got one in the file. The normal closing costs are going to be somewhere between $1,800 and $3,500, and I know that's a wide range, but it all depends on a couple of things. One is, how long ago did you refinance? Because attorneys can give you a discount on the title insurance, which is a big savings because, rather than paying $2.50 per thousand, you can cut that down to about $1.65 per thousand. But that's only if you refinanced within the last 7 years. If it's any more than that, then they can't give you a discount on that. So, and again, it also is going to depend on the loan amount that you're financing. Appraisals are around $450. Credit reports per person is about $25 per person. You've got other things such as municipal lien certificates, where everyone is now at $50 per municipal lien certificate. Everyone needs to have a flood certificate, whether you are in a flood zone or not in a flood zone. Everyone needs that. So there are certain things that are mandatory. A lot of banks out there have what they call processing fees in the thousands of dollars. And what I mean is, there might be $1,200 or $1,300. I know ours is only $175 because we're not looking to make money on the closing.
Good. You want to share your contact information now?
Oh, sure. If anyone's looking for a refinance, you can give me a call at 781-796-6125 is my office number, and my cell is 617-529-8444. And I'm at the Coastal Heritage Bank in Hanover, Massachusetts. That's our office. Our main office is in Weymouth at 195 Washington Street in Weymouth.
So in a refinance, is a one-owner rundown all the title examiner has to do normally?
Yeah, they just, if it goes to the same attorney, then yes. If it's coming from, if we're getting a loan from another bank or another institution to us, then they have to do the full title rundown.
Okay, good. So let's talk about where we're headed. This show's being taped in August. Where do you think we're going to be going through the fall?
Well, I mean, from what we've seen on the rates over the last couple of weeks, I think the rates are going to remain fairly low. The feds have reduced the discount rate by 1/4%. There has been talk that they may do that again in September.
Right.
The big word there is may. And if they do it in September, they may look again at it in December. Now, that doesn't really affect the mortgage rates as much as it affects what people pay on home equity lines, car loans, credit cards, things like that. But it does affect the mortgage rates when it affects the stock market, because as you can see, the stock market has come down a little bit.
Tough couple days.
It's been a tough couple of days, and I think part of that reason is because some of the businesses had anticipated a 1/2% discount,
Okay.
and they only gave 1/4%. So there was kind of, the air was let out of the balloon there
Sure.
a little prematurely because,
Sure.
they were anticipating one thing and the feds did another.
Right.
One thing that I do want to kind of circle back on the refinances, things that people should gather for a refinance.
Yeah, that's great.
Very important. If you are refinancing or thinking about refinancing, you should gather at least 2 months' bank statements. Most of the time, you're going to either be asked for your tax returns for 2 years, definitely going to be asked for your W-2s for 2 years, but most of the time the tax returns as well. Copies of 1 month's worth of your pay stubs. 1 month's pay stubs. You're going to be asked information about your current mortgage. We want to see your current mortgage statement. If you have an equity line, we're going to want to see your homeowner's insurance policy because we need to see how much that's going to cost you. Flood insurance, if you're in a flood zone, and real estate tax bill. And another very important thing is if you're taking cash out, the interest rate that you see may not be the interest rate that you get because on cash out refinances, the rates are usually about 1/4% higher than what the actual advertised rate is. So if you come in and say, I owe $350,000, I only want to finance $350,000, your rate would be at one rate. If you come in and say, I owe $350,000 and I want to take out $400,000, your rate is going to be 1/4% higher than what that actual rate is.
So the appraisal is done over again?
The appraisal is always done over again. Appraisals are only good for 3 months now.
Okay.
So if you purchased a house, and we have this happening now, people who have purchased houses in December of last year at the 4.25% rate are now refinancing. We do have to do new appraisals on them because the appraisals are only good for 3 months. Freddie and Fannie require, all the GSEs require us to do new appraisals.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, and the appraisals are actually coming in pretty good.
And what is the turnaround time from someone coming to talk to you, saying, all right, I like what you're saying, let's go with it?
From application to closing, I always tell people because we don't know what we're going to run into, whether we're going to run into issues with titles.
Yeah.
A lot of people had solar put on their homes and they have to now contact their solar companies to get releases. So I tell people anywhere from 45 to 60 days. We do allow you to lock in the interest rate for up to 60 days. So that means if the rate goes up, you don't get the higher rate, but if you lock in, if the rate goes down, you don't necessarily get the lower rate either.
So most likely with a refinance, there's not these lingering issues out there of unpaid discharges or what people call clouds on the title. It's more like what would have come up in between the time you financed the first time and the second.
Correct. So, like I'll use myself, for
Sure.
example. We put solar panels on our roof.
Okay.
And we did a lease through Solar City for our solar panels.
Okay.
So Solar City put a UCC
Sure.
on the property.
Right.
So you would think that a UCC was just filed at the town that you live in, but it was also filed, in this case, it was also filed at the registry
For security, yeah.
for their security. Not that we owe them anything on it, because we
Right.
pay them on a monthly
Right.
basis and we
Right.
get our electricity through it. But because they have a UCC on the roof, we had to actually get a UCC agreement, a discharge for that UCC,
Okay.
which they'll put back on probably 90 days after.
So the new loan has to have all that information in the package.
Yeah, they do need to have all that because anyone who's doing a new mortgage, 99% of them will not subordinate to a second mortgage or a second lien.
Sure, yeah. So let's talk about 2020 and see where we're headed with that. Clearly everybody has a business plan based on what you expect to happen. We do, as I was talking about earlier, as we do it for budget purposes and try to estimate a year in advance what the market's going to be, which is a hard thing to do. But you have to do the same kind of thing in your business going forward a year and probably longer than that.
Yeah, well, we do. You usually have that kind of a business plan. Usually, every December we have, we have our budget meetings and get that done. Right now, I don't think any of us expected to have the refinance market where it is again today. We were counting more
Certainly
on
a good
purchase.
thing.
Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. But we were counting on the purchase market to take over,
Okay.
and I think that's what we're looking at in 2020 because I think you're going to see. Whoever's going to refinance is going to refinance now. And I think within the next several months, people who were going to refinance are going to already have refinanced. So I think moving forward into 2020, we're going to have to kind of focus more on what's going to happen with the purchase market. We're actually running a first-time homebuyer seminar out of our Union Point, down at Union Point this weekend of the 24th with NeighborWorks Solutions.
Oh, good.
And, in hopes that we can get some new people in looking to purchase some first-time homebuyer homes, which is another issue that's for another topic for another day, that affordable housing for people who are looking for new
clearly
homes.
the inventory is low.
Exactly.
And secondly, enticing new buyers into the marketplace is a hard thing to do these days.
Right. Well, not only that, you have to entice people who currently own homes to sell their homes so that the new buyers can do that. But looking forward to 2020, I think we're going to focus more on the purchase market, unless the rates drop into the twos.
So I'm getting a notice, but just a 30-second for first-time home buyers. What do you see for them coming forward?
One thing that I would strongly recommend to first-time home buyers is, don't put your name out there to a whole bunch of people. Don't give your social security number out. If you have a pre-approval, stick with that pre-approval until you actually find a home. But do go out and get pre-approved. But don't go to several places to get pre-approved because that'll hit your credit score quite a bit. Once you have a pre-approval, go out there, do your shopping. Once you do find the home, then you can actually shop for your mortgage rate and shop for your mortgage. Do that, find a good realtor, find a good attorney that's going to help you out. And if you used our bank, then we could actually hook you up with an attorney who could walk you through the process on the purchase and sales as well.
And many people are taking those buyer education courses before they even buy a home.
Well, they need to.
Yeah, in most cases,
if you're looking at mass housing, or if you're looking at MHP, which is the Mass Housing Partnership, if you're looking at first-time home buyer programs at even other banks, you do need to have a certificate saying that you did go through a first-time home buyer program.
So can you share your contact information one more time?
Absolutely. My name is Steve Amico. I work at Coastal Heritage Bank. I'm actually in the Hanover office. My telephone number is 781-796-6125. My cell phone is 617-529-8444. And our main office of Coastal Heritage Bank is 195 Washington Street in Weymouth, Massachusetts.
Well, thanks, Steve. It's always great
John.
to see you. You always have good information.
Thanks, John. It was a pleasure.
Great. Welcome back to the Register's Report. Again, my name is John Buckley, the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County, and I want to thank Steve Amico of Coastal Heritage Bank for the great job he did in describing the refinance market right now, the opportunity for people to save money by refinancing their loans. He always does a great job. This segment of the show is a little lighter in nature. It's usually about some of our Plymouth County history, the The holidays for the month were National Lighthouse Day on the 7th, World Elephant Day on the 12th, National Roller Coaster Day on the 16th, and Women's Equality Day on the 26th. 3 of our notable record collections are coming forward, and we'll talk about one of our colonial records that we like to talk about as we get closer to the 2020 celebration of the arrival of the Plymouth colonists. First, you're going to see an image of Shirtlift Park. Recently, they had the Old Home Day celebration in Carver. The land for Shirtlift Park, where the event was held, was donated to the town of Carver by Carlton Shirtlift Francis, a descendant of Carver native Ben Shirtlift. It's a Carver landmark and enjoyed by Carver residents and others for picnicking, band concerts, and most memorably, Carver Old Home Day. First Old Home Day was celebrated in 1901. They recently have done another one. In 1930, a hurricane destroyed the trees in the park, but after the cleanup, more pine trees were planted, and it's a great place to stay in the shade on a hot summer day. Our next notable record you'll see is Paragon Park, a long-gone great place in Hull. It was home to the largest wooden roller coaster in the famous Paragon Park Carousel. As this month is National Roller Coaster Day, we thought we'd revisit that site. For years it was opened and operated as an amusement park on Hull's Nantasket Beach, opened in 1905 by the Stone family, and many years of fun for many people. Many people remember the Congo Cruise, the Wild Mouse, and the 96-foot-high giant coaster. It was visited by families for generations. It was closed in 1984 and turned into condominiums. There is, however, a very wonderful remnant of that site, the Paragon Carousel, purchased and renovated in 1995. It is located in the National Register of Historic Places, and it is run by the Friends of the Carousel. It is the last vestige of Paragon Park and is a reminder of the Golden Age in Hull. And next is a notable record for Duxbury Beach, beautiful white sand beach, 6-mile-long barrier beach, ever-changing based upon the ocean. It's reached either by the wooden Powder Point Bridge or through Gurnett Road. It's a wonderful place in Plymouth County. And last but not least is one of our notable colonial records, again as we're getting closer to the 2020 celebration. And it was a granting by the colonial court in 1639 of a oyster bank on the North River. Clearly, South Shore oysters, Duxbury oysters, are something even today, but that process started in 1639 by a vote of a colonial court. I want to thank Lorna Green Baker, Christine Richards from our office, Mike Simmons, Narrow Tebow from Brockton Cable Access. It's my 106th show here, and thank you to them for allowing me to put this show together and share it with local access providers. So have a great summer, and I'll see you next month.